So today we're going to be talking about our paper, which was on gender differences in communication. And people expect and accept the differences between men and women as being normal. There are consistent differences between men and women in nonverbal communication, as well as management styles and their oral communication styles. And communication was listed as one of the most important soft skills that a person can possess to an organization. So we're going to discuss the science behind gender differences, which includes the biology and sociology between men and women and how they're different. In online communication specifically, the differences between men and women posting in forums, women are a lot more passive and less likely to be aggressive with their point, whereas men are more dominant in getting their point across.
So when we focus on case studies in leadership positions and how they pretend to gender differences, what people tend to find is that there are, between men clients and women clients, that there are discrepancies and the inability to cross barriers within these boundaries. So the first thing we're going to talk about is the importance of communication at a leadership position. The first case study was an interview with Martin Thompson, who is the CEO of the Gaurav Deli Company, and he discusses the importance and his emphasis on communication. He notes Disney CEO Bob Iger was a weatherman before he became CEO of Disney Corporation, and he worked his way up to that position. And Martin Thompson was also a golf caddy who had to hone his communication skills on the golf course and be able to learn how to communicate effectively. So the second case study was on women rising the unseen barrier, and this is about perception in the workplace. This goes into how companies are frustrated with how women leaders are unable to bridge the gap between the communication barrier between certain demographics in the company. The case study lists a scenario where a woman leader was having trouble with older men clients, but when confronted with a woman client with a woman and a woman leader, they were able to come to better conclusions, and her praise was very high for the woman manager. Another piece of this is vision. Men in a conference studying women speakers and women leaders, the men judges tended to grade harder on the women because they did not see the vision in their statements and how they wanted to go further and their actual views for the company. It wasn't as upfront, and it wasn't as direct as they would have liked. And in the previous case study, this was also an issue. They said that the women leaders were more passive and unable to get their point across and not getting the responses that they desired. However, in a Lillis and Tian cross-cultural communication and emotional intelligence study, they realized the success of a group that is in a heterogeneous setting, which is both men and women, compared to one which is just men or one that is both women. They were able to come up with more words for emotional intelligence, which is a difficult topic for leaders to understand. And they were able to come out more successful with these groups of both men and women within them once they had both sides of the communication gap.
So after discussing the issues at hand, we have decided on 3 alternatives that can be used to bridge this gap. First one is to create safe identity workspaces, which is basically creating a safe space for learning and experimentation so that women can grow and become aware that this bias does exist, which will help prevent double binds and double standards inside the workplace. The second alternative is to place an emphasis on the leadership purpose, with training courses that emphasize the skills and styles that males have learned through their time in the workplace. This is a hard habit to break, but because it goes against a women's normal leadership style. In order to lead effectively and not to be seen as passive, women must establish a strong leadership purpose. The third alternative is to gain an understanding of second-generation bias. A second-generation bias is basically a generally accepted bias that puts males at an advantage over females in the workplace. Addressing this unconscious bias and accepting that this invisible barrier does exist will help break this habit and bias. Thank you.
Thank you.